Greetings to all Transnetters and our listeners, and a warm welcome to Lentswe, the voice of Transnet. I'm your host, Busisiwe Mtwa, and today we celebrate the richness of our heritage with our theme, Legacy in Motion, Bridging Generations and Building Heritage. This is more than just a theme, it's a call to action. It asks us to think about legacies we are creating, the values we are carrying forward, and the generations who will inherit and shape the future of Transnet and South Africa. Joining me for this very important conversation, we have a distinguished gentleman, an industry titan, one of our dignitaries, Dr. Andile Sanqu, Chairperson of the Transnet Board. Dr. Sanqu, welcome to the podcast and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. It is really wonderful to have received this invitation, and it's wonderful to be here with you this afternoon. It's an honor for me.
Thank you. I'm sure the listeners or viewers are so excited to have you here. I mean, it's very difficult to find you, so to give us a bit of your time is everything. We appreciate that.
I really am excited to be here today.
Let's jump right in. Dr. Sanqu. When you reflect on your own professional journey, what values and principles have guided your leadership and a vision for building a lasting legacy?
Wow. Well, so, when I think about that question, it sort of takes me back into my childhood. And I just want to touch about a number of aspects in my childhood to give a backdrop to my response, to this question.
Please.
The first one is the role of parents. I was raised largely by my mother, who always instilled in us the importance of education.
Yes.
And this is something that for all of us as siblings, she has always said to us, one thing that will differentiate you in life, that will help you to rise above any other thing, is the value of education. And the second thing that she had always impressed upon us is the value of a relationship with God. I remember very well in my early childhood that Sundays was always about church. We even had clothes that you only wear on Sundays. So they'll be washed during the week, but you know that I've got my Sunday shoes, I've got my Sunday clothes, that you would wear. So I grew up and going to Sunday school, being active in church. And the third thing that I remember is the value of family. So whatever achievements that we would have achieved, either at school or whatever development, will find a moment to celebrate that. We'll find a moment to be together. We'll find a moment to show love to one another and rally that, and that sort of became the fabric that defined us. And the other part was hard work. My mother always said, don't think that people are going to do things for you. So at a very young age, this was the kind of a value system that was inculcated in us to be able to work for things, the culture of working for things, earning things, and seeing the rewards of your hard work. And the other thing is that she led by example, and one of the things that I'd always wanted to do was to say that I wanted to be an extension of the dreams, the ambitions, the aspirations that she wanted. For example, my mother worked as a nurse, and one of the things that she had hoped that I was going to be would be that of being a medical doctor. Because when she goes to the hospital, she'll see all these young doctors wearing those white coats and all of that. And I could see that this is something that she was yearning for and hoping that I would do that. And one day I visited her in hospital just during the holidays. And this particular day, she was working in casualty. In casualty, you have a lot of people that have been stabbed, and there's almost like a lot of blood. And I can't stand the sight of blood. Yeah, so the day I walked in there, before I could see her, I already knew that, sorry about this ambition, it was not going to happen.
Yeah, not.
And so off went the way of being a medical doctor. But she has long passed now. But the power of a dream that she had propelled me, to be a doctor today. I'm not a medical doctor, but I'm a doctor. So I always say that we must never take for granted the dreams. We must never take for granted the value system that we inculcate in children, because even long after the parents have gone, it comes forth,
True.
In its fullness. Yeah, I think that these are some of the things that have, in a large way, shaped and defined who I am. Maybe my last point is to say, sometimes when you are blessed to go and sort of hit the pinnacle of your career, people think that there's something extraordinary about you. And I really want to dispel that.
Okay.
There wasn't anything special about me. I worked hard. Because I worked hard, I got good grades. But I was very ordinary. I was just like everybody else, did all the things that other kids did. There's just nothing special. But if you work hard and you live the kind of right set of values, and the rest happens.
There we go. And this is now leading on to my next question about legacy being more than just about structures that you leave behind. It's mostly about the people, like you had mentioned.
Yeah.
And you mentioned how your parents had a profound impact
Yeah.
on you
Yeah.
as a child, and
Yeah.
how their thoughts and ideas shaped you. So what do you have to say to the youth of Transnet in terms of playing a role in carrying Transnet's legacy forward?
Yeah. I live by very simple principles in life, and I think that's something that I would like to share even to the youth, is that, whatever it is that you do, just bring your A game. It's just as simple as that. Bring your A game. I find a lot of people that even if someone is applying for a job, the way they prepare their CV, it's poorly prepared. Even the columns are not straight. There's not even a covering letter. There is just lack of effort that has gone into that. My view is that if you want the world to take you seriously out there, you need to start by taking yourself seriously. It starts with you. And how you show up even before people see you for the interview. The quality of the work, how you've prepared for that, the research that you conduct, the questions that you ask, the stuff that you do behind the scene. That's the stuff that actually sets you apart. So I think, for me, it's about understanding that you are here for a purpose. You are here to make a mark. and there's no one else like you. Let's reflect on this for a moment. I don't know the numbers, Busi, but I may be correct in saying that in the whole planet, there must be, over 7 billion people?
Closer to 8 now.
Probably 8. Can I tell you one small fact? If you look at your fingerprints, do you know that there is no other person in those 8 billion people that have fingerprints similar to yours? Have you ever paused that for a moment and asked yourself why? Because you're unique. And there's no one else like you. And there will never be anybody else like you. Even if there will be someone that would live after you, they will never have the same fingerprints as you. There's a reason behind that. The reason is that there's a reason why you are living. I was reading something the other day. It was saying that there are 2 important days in your life. The first one is the day you were born. The second one is the day you know why you were born. It precisely speaks to this whole issue of legacy. If we want to make a legacy that is everlasting, we have a homework to do to understand what's your purpose, why you were born, what you are here to do. And when you understand that, and when you are able to say, even in this interview, you bring out your best, in whatever way. It could be at home, it could be with friends, it could be wherever. You could even be meeting with someone, at the lobby. Can you show up in the best way that you can? Can you just be fully present in every sphere of your being? And maybe 2 points I want just to share with us, because this is something that I think we miss at best of times. It's just this thing of appreciating moments. If you are given an opportunity to do something, it's not a coincidence that you are offered that opportunity. And this is how life works.
Yes.
And I just think that sometimes we need to disabuse ourselves of this notion that there are endless opportunities.
Yes.
So in other words, it's okay for me to miss this one.
Yeah.
All right, because there are many others. Have you ever thought that this could be the only one? The second point is that if you make the best of this one, others would follow. And if you don't make the best of this one, others that were about to follow, they also dry up. So, but if you take full advantage of the opportunity that are presented to you, even if they are awkward, but you go out there and do your best. The last thing that I think it's important, and I see this a lot, is that we always think that if we are living today, that there were not other people that lived before us.
Yes.
That it's like we come from nowhere and we know it all. But I think we can do with a little bit of humility. Just start up reading up about your family history and document it, Begin to know about the lineage of your parents, your mother, your sister, where they come from, how they grew up. Because there's a part of yourself today that is inextricably linked to their own identity and their sense of lineage. You will miss that if you focused on today. And my last point is to say, well, don't expect to change the world. Just try and expect to change someone's world. If I meet you and I try and do the best to change and have a positive impact in your world, and the rest of the other things would happen. There's something called the value of small things. You start by doing small things, and small things become big things, and big things multiplied become massive things. So talking about the issue of legacy and what do we take forward, for me, it's about values. Because if I look at those that have come before me, one of the things that I recall is that from the way I was brought up is the power of dreams. You having dreams and staying focused to your dream, even if there are things that may deter you or you make some detours along the way. But if you stay focused to your dream, a dream may be delayed, but it will never be denied.
Yes.
and you need to believe that. And so that's the first. And the second one is that it's also very important for us to value hard work. We just need to be a hard-working people and a hard-working nation. And lastly is we must have this, I call it a restless spirit. In other words, we must never reach a point in our lives where we say, I'm done. I can cruise now. I've got that qualification. I've got that good job. I can stop. You never stop. You continue improving yourself. You continue become a better version of yourself. What you were yesterday, you must tell yourself that today I'm going to be better than yesterday. So look, I think we should not let those that come after us be able to say, well, those that were here before us were able to pave the way. It's not rocket science, but it's just doing the same things diligently. As Malcolm Gladwell once said, it's about the story of those 10,000 hours. In whatever you do, you just make sure that you're steadfast at it, you work diligently at it, and you do the right things, and the right things will happen, and they will follow.
Sure. I think you've spoken to the youth. I hope they're listening. They've been waiting to hear from you, and they've taken everything that you said in stride. It's very, very important. You spoke at length about how you present yourself and how your work speaks for you, especially when you're at that level where you haven't had a name yet. So I hope they've listened. I certainly have, and I will keep it in mind.
The other thing I'm thinking as we are reflecting on this is that some people may come from a position of many disadvantages. Like, for example, you are not a known name. People don't know about you. You're not you are not famous. You don't come from a well-known background. Other people, even before they show up, people know about their family, their background, their achievements, etc., etc. Hey, that doesn't disqualify you.
True.
Remember one thing. It's not about how you start the race, It's about how you finish the race.
That's the only thing people care about.
So we may have varying starting points in life, but you just need to have this, I call it stubbornness. You need to have this kind of stubbornness.
Yes.
That's it. You know what? I refuse to be defined by my own circumstances. It does not matter where I come from, but let me tell you something. This is not how it's going to end. That kind of stubbornness is, you know what? It's going to be hard, but I'm going to push. And the more you push, the more things start to open. And my last thing, and I see this, the reason why I'm raising this is that I see a lot of people wanting to take shortcuts. I see a lot of people going for instant gratification. You know what? It doesn't work. If we want to build everlasting legacy, if we want to build a resilient nation, if we want to build a world in which those that come after us will be proud of us, we need to do the work. unfortunately. And we are, as well, the beneficiaries of our forebears, those that came before us. They made the sacrifices and they put all the hard work. Let it not stop with us. We also have a responsibility to pass on the baton, even to those that come after us.
Definitely, and thank you for that. So you spoke at length about the forebearers and leaving something behind that the future generation can work on and grow from, etc., etc.
Yeah.
This is Transnet. We do have a bit of an aged demographic in terms of our employees. We do have the youth leaving at quite shocking levels, actually. But nonetheless, there is a culture, there's a tradition, there's the Transnet way, but we're also pushing forward with innovation. Right? Doing all of these beautiful things that we're going to talk about a bit later. How are we striking the balance between the way it's always been done and pushing forward with innovative ideas to make sure that we are future fit and up to standard by, global business standards at this point?
I don't think we are where we're supposed to be.
Okay.
I think we just need to be very honest in our reflections, to say we are behind. But I, for one, have been encouraged. I've been encouraged by the energy, the enthusiasm and the willingness to learn, and also to create spaces where even young people feel empowered. You are right about, I don't want to call it ageist, but sometimes that pace is not as fast as it is. But here's the thing, there has to be a balance though. Things like experience, you can't, unfortunately you can't fast track that. You have to work, you've got to log in the hours, to do that. So even on the part of the youth, they have to try and do their part and just not to be in a hurry to leave, and always thinking that maybe there are things that are better elsewhere. Probably they are, but when you start something, you have to try and make sure that you achieve mastery of what you have started. You are able to show results of what you started. Before I started this meeting, one of the things that I do is I try and plow back. So I studied at Rhodes University. So I sit on the council of Rhodes University. So we just had a council meeting today, and I was trying to look back at my time at university. Professors were old people, gray, and all of those things, walking like this and so on. But now, Rhodes University have got 38-year-old professors, across many disciplines. And these are people that have published, have done all sorts of things. So the reason why I'm bringing this here is that the institutions may not be running as fast as one would expect, but there's a definite change. And if you hang in around long enough, you'll be able to benefit in that. Thirdly is that I think Transnet is in a great space because we've moved out of a space where the company has been in financial distress for a very long time. It's difficult to be able to try and usher in the kind of technological changes that you would want if a company is not in a financially sound position to do that. It is now beginning to stabilize. And there are so many opportunities for innovation. There are so many opportunities for partnership. There are so many opportunities to do things differently. So from where I sit, I think the next 3 or 5 years will be a lot better than the last 3 to 5 years. So I really think that people must just, dig in, go in there, but there are no quick fixes.
True.
But I'm very comfortable about the trajectory of the organization in terms of embracing change and dealing with diversity and also unlocking the power of innovation. I mean, I've met a lot of good people at Transnet across the ODs. I've been immensely impressed. And I can tell you, and I've said this before and publicly too, that some of the people that are here in Transnet are far better than people that you meet in the private sector. But I have a sense that maybe Transnetters, this is not how they feel about themselves.
True.
So there's also a sense of a need to recalibrate how you feel about your sense of self-worth, to say you more, you better, you are the best that is out there. So I do think that we do need those messages of affirmation.
Yes.
We do need those messages, those moments of celebrating, our own. And that's why I'm very excited about this upcoming youth conference that is coming up, because that's what we're going to be talking about, to celebrate and enjoy and say, you know what, it's not like we don't have it, we have it, but how do we pull it together? And this is really the stuff that really changes, the trajectory of the world. And this is the stuff that makes legacies possible.
Right. So thank you very much for being nice to us and giving us, some words of encouragement. We are very harsh on ourselves. That is true at Transnet, because, you kind of get sucked into this world. It really is a vacuum. You really can get, wrapped up in it. Talking to the GCE, and she had been here for 24 years. And I said, madam, I don't think that's going to work for a lot of people, but when you're a Transnetter, that's possible. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, let's talk about the youth once again. You spoke about this upcoming conference.
Yeah.
And you are talking about the masterclass.
Yeah.
Right? Legacy in Motion. Conversation across time.
Yeah.
Could you just let us know what inspired this initiative and what are you hoping to accomplish with it?
Yeah. Let's talk about conversation across time.
Yes.
I think that we need to move away from this notion of thinking that older people cannot learn from younger people.
Yes.
And it presupposes that there are certain people that have got monopoly over knowledge, ideas, and solutions. And I think the first thing is to break down those barriers and create a one organization. And I'm hoping that will send a message across the organization that your ideas cannot be dismissed purely because you are junior. And your ideas are not necessarily the best ideas because you happen to be senior. Life doesn't work that way. We just need to find platforms where we allow ideas to cross-pollinate, where we allow a better fusion of ideas, and to stress test our ideas, and to be able to make sure that whatever it is that we come up with as a solution, there's so much rigor that has gone into that process. And lastly, just on that point, to make sure that every voice in the room is heard. And I think that this is something that we need to break down, because we are not really unlocking the complete value that we all bring as people in the organization. So that's really what is at the center of that. The second one is the issue of power. There's a power imbalance that may have to do with positions, that may have to do with age, that may have to do with the fact that Other people see themselves as more educated than other people. And that creates an imbalance. And it stifles ideas. It stifles innovation. I suppose through this conference, we're trying to foster some recalibration of that power imbalance and say that everybody matters. Everybody has got something that they are to bring into this conversation. And if we are looking at solutions that are going to take this organization forward, we need to incorporate everybody. And the last part that it's very important for all of us to consider is that in as much as we need to look forward, sometimes we think that most of these things have not happened before.
Yes.
And there are people in this organization that have been here for the last 30 years, and they've been through the cycles, and they can teach us a lot about, even if we're not going to replicate some of the things that have happened before, we cannot discount or discard everything that has happened in the past. So it's really about celebration of what we have. It is about forging unity. It is about reminding ourselves of how unique we are. It is also about celebrating our diversity.
Yes.
And it is a confluence of all of those things that, to me, makes this upcoming conference very exciting. And I'm really very excited about it. And I'm looking forward to challenge and be challenged.
I think we're all excited at this point. Looking forward to see what comes out of that. So you have now walked us through what you're hoping to happen with the youth conference and to pick up some ideas that'll foster us into the long-term strategy of the organization, etc., etc. Let's come back to what's happening right now. R4G, Reinvent for Growth.
Yeah.
How does the strategy position Transnet not only to respond to the current challenges, but also to future-proof itself for generations to come, and also the partnerships that you are hoping to build with the strategy? What was the thought process behind that, and what value do you hope to gain? What synergies are you hoping to realize from those?
Look, let me just start with a crisis. I think sometimes we should appreciate the gift of a crisis, because sometimes a crisis can be a gift because you have to try and maneuver your way out of a crisis. The bottom line, I mean, if one thing about the strategy is that we have a very weak balance sheet as Transnet. Now, to repair balance sheet, depending on the strong balance sheet of your shareholder, you have to be innovative to address that problem. Transnet has a number of issues. We had volumes that were declining, and we have got high interest service costs. We also have a huge maintenance backlog. And all of that requires a lot of money to be able to bring that up to speed. Now, one of the things that we need to accept is that we will not be able to have the kind of funding support that we have had in the past. So almost that unleashes us to think differently about the future and to ask ourselves the questions: what is working in Transnet that we want to keep? What is it that we may not want to keep? Maybe some areas we may want to pivot because we believe that in somebody else's hands, that can be done differently. Thirdly is, how do we partner, with other players? They bring skills, they bring capital that we don't have and we're not likely to have. They also bring in efficiency. Now, we need to be asking this in the context of a number of questions to say, what are we trying to solve? What we are trying to solve is a strong organization that is resilient, that continues to be a major logistic player in South Africa. We need to get Transnet to work. If Transnet works, South Africa works. And this is to find different ways of making sure that we bring this organization to work. So you may ask the question, so give me some specifics to say, well, it sounds like a very great idea. So let's talk about the backlog in maintenance. Because if you address our maintenance backlog, what that means is that we are going to have a rail track that is functioning well, helping us to move rail volumes across our network. Secondly, we will have locomotives that are functioning well. We'll have wagons that are functioning well. But the fact of the matter is that we do not have the financial wherewithal to make this possible. And this is why we are partnering. We're looking at partnering with the private sector. We're looking at partnering with our customers. We are also allowing independent players to come into our network. When they participate in our network, we generate fees. And we use, all of those pockets of money to be able to revitalize the organization so that we are able to do better than we have in the past. And the last thing is that we also want to make sure that we invest in technology. Most of our operations, the technology is antiquated, and we do not have the financial resources to do that. So it's through partnerships that we are able to do that. Lastly, is that we have an entity that was built based on the understanding of a different geological mining conditions in South Africa. And it's something that we need to appreciate. In other words, in the last 40 years, we've been moving a lot of coal. In the last 40 years, we've been moving a lot of iron ore and most recently manganese. But we need to be thinking about what the Transnet of the future is going to be like. So what do I mean by that? There are now critical and strategic minerals that are not necessarily geographically located where our railway lines are. And part of this reinventing for the future is to be able to say the organization of the future, how will it be responding to the demands of new minerals? So it's basically challenging ourselves to say, well, maybe we're still going to mine coal for the next 15 or 20 years. But if one day we stop mining coal, what happened to that whole North Corridor? When do we think about those decisions? We don't think about them when we stop mining. We have to say, what are the alternatives? And where do we want to be? What are the scenarios? So this reinvent for growth strategy is still, if you like, version 1.0 of a far more bigger 15, 20-year strategy that we will be unveiling, thinking about where we want directionally to go. Let me end off by saying that infrastructure businesses are long-term businesses. And we have to start thinking about this, getting the right kind of data. For example, we are about to complete Tipler 3 in Saldanha, because we believe that we're still going to move some manganese, we're still going to move some more iron ore. So strategically, this is where we are redeploying our resources in areas that we believe that there is high growth, for those minerals going forward. And hence, I want to say that crisis gives us that kind of a gift to understand the fact that how we need to be thinking about the future is completely different from how we've been thinking about it previously. But there's a lot of stuff in the past that we are carrying it with us into the future. And that's the beauty of being in a financially stable position, because it gives you that bit of a breather to start thinking differently about the business. I hope that answers you.
Definitely. There's a lot of questions that I had personally as well, and you've answered those. And thank you for the specific examples, because everything kind of sounds like it's up in the air.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There aren't really any concrete things that you can point to and say, this is what is going to be done, this is what is going to be done. And I love that it's a very long-term thinking strategy that is still going to evolve.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So now R4G, Reinvent for Growth, really makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
So thank you very, very much.
Yeah, but I do think that the leadership needs to make time to discuss strategy with everybody. That's my takeaway from this. I'll speak to the right people.
Just one more time.
I'll just speak to the right people and say, hey, you need to do some town hall sessions, on the strategy. Make sure that everybody understands, engage, and ask questions. So I've written that in my book.
And so finally, we're getting personal once again.
Yeah.
How do you hope to contribute to ensuring that the legacy of Transnet is not only preserved, but strengthened for decades to come? What do you hope, when you walk out of these doors at some point, step down as the chair, what do you want people to remember when they think of Dr. Andile Sanqo?
Yeah, look, it's quite a difficult question, to be honest with you. The only thing that I want to say in response to that question is that I find it easy to point fingers whenever there is a problem, instead of raising your hand and say, count me in. I want to be part of the solution. I think it's important for all of us to recognize that there's something we can do about the situation that we find ourselves in. It may not be everything, but there's something that we can do. When I received the invitation to become the chair of Transnet, other people asked me and said, "Listen, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure this is what you want to do?" And my response was a very simple one, and say, you know what? We are citizens of this country. We have benefited from this country. We've been blessed with skills and talent, and this is the time when we are called upon to serve our country. And let's rise to the occasion and do our best. So to answer your question is that indeed, for me, what I would walk away with the day I leave is to say, you know what? I was given a challenge. I showed up and I did my best.
Yes.
And that's good enough.
Yes.
And I don't think that I would feel that I could, as long as I know that I gave it my all.
Yes.
And I walk away there, with peace that, I did not run away. I did not point fingers. There was a call of duty and I responded to it. And others that will come after me will continue where I've left off. That would be how I would respond to your question.
Sure. And thank you so much for that. We really appreciate your service. Number one, being in your position is not easy at all. And, 50,988 of us looking to you for guidance, for leadership.
It's a privilege.
Definitely. Tough one, but we thank you for rising to the occasion every single day.
No, thank you for the opportunity to come and share my humble perspective on these things.
No, definitely. Thank you for your time and sharing with us such insightful, reflections on your personal journey, professional journey as well.
Yeah.
We really appreciated having you here with us today. As we said, he's a very busy man, so this is a privilege. And to just close off, to my fellow colleagues, as I said, collectively 50,988 strong, I leave you with something to ponder on. What role are you playing in ensuring that the story of Transnet is one of growth, resilience, and impact for generations to come? And let's also take a moment to celebrate the richness of our heritage, our languages, traditions, and shared histories that shape who we are. Heritage Month is not just about looking back, but also living our values today. At Transnet, our culture charter reminds us of the 5 values that guide us: community service, integrity, respect and care, responsibility, and safety. Let's carry these values forward as we honor our diverse cultures and build a future that we can all be proud of. Celebrate boldly, live the values, and keep the spirit of Heritage Month alive. A very big thank you to all of our listeners and our fellow Transneters for tuning in. May we all play a role in building a legacy that bridges generations and builds a stronger future for South Africa. Until the next time, I'm your host, Busisiwe Mtoa. This is Lentswe, the voice of Transnet.